So we got into the Guinness World Record book for building the world's strongest robotic arm last year, which was a lot of fun.
A lot there. Want to start back at the top. So can you explain what a six axis hydraulic system is?
Yeah. Well, a six-axis system, whether it's hydraulic or electric, involves manipulating something in six dimensions, and those dimensions are roll, pitch, and yaw. And then it's so that's in sort of the rotational directions, and then in the linear directions, it's left, right, front, back, and up, down.
Mm. And then talking about just getting the munitions on to the plane and then attaching it, it seems like just such a headache. It sounds like a headache when you're thinking about the diesel engine, the yelling. It seems like a really stressful situation when it doesn't necessarily need to be, especially when you're inside with the fumes.
Yes, it does not need to be this way. Yeah, and in fact, the slow turnaround time means that we need more planes than we would if you had something that could turn the planes around and keep them up in the air faster, right? So
It's
there's just
almost,
this, yeah.
sorry, I was going to say it's almost like you're talking about they might need less planes. In this instance, you turn it back to the oil part where it's like you need less. You can actually have more revenue because you have to service it less. And in this instance, it's like you could get to the point where you're more efficient, where you feel comfortable like decreasing. Not saying that we would do that, but just you could decrease theoretically the amount of planes that you need because you can turn and burn on adding in the munitions that you needed.
That's right. If you increase the availability of the assets that you have, then you don't have to put as much money into new ones, and then you can redirect that money elsewhere. And so I think this can help reduce. It's not going to reduce the defense budget, but it can help redirect those monies more effectively.
One thing that we didn't talk about was the weight difference between the Super Jammer and then the original crane that we're talking about. If we call it a crane, I think it's like the robotic arm. I'm not necessarily sure on like the exact verbiage, but the weight difference is something that I thought was surprising. And looking at the photos, I was also surprised like how big it is. Like it has these big legs that because you've got to move in these six axes, and so it's got these big legs and just the weight that how big it is. I'm trying to describe it, but it's massive. And when you talk about the reveal the weight to the audience, like how does it weigh that little?
Yeah, I won't. I can't really do. Uh, we might have to redo this one because I can't really do an apples to apples comparison on the weight because our specs are higher than the specs that of the original munitions handling unit. We've been asked to do a 3x safety factor, and I don't think the existing systems have that, so we have to make everything bigger. Um, but the arms that you're talking about are outriggers, and they're necessary because the munition is at a 7-foot extension away from the center of the vehicle. And so you need some level of support because the center of gravity ends up being outside of the vehicle when you're actually moving and manipulating these munitions.
Were you sidebar? Were you there when the record was officialized, or were they? I know there's somebody shows up. They're an official record keeper, and you do your thing. You do your song and dance like you're at the talent show, and they record it, and then they're the ones who notarize the record. Like, how does that work? How's that process work?
It's a two-step process. The first step is that you have to send in all the materials. So, you start the process by working with them and they tell you, here's the evidence you need to generate for us. And then after they review the evidence, they come back and they send someone to give you the award. The So for the evidence, they required an independent third party to come and test our weights to make sure that the weights were the weights that we thought they were when we were measuring the stuff. And then they put in place the right measurement elements into the arm so that they could see that we were lifting the full weight. And then they captured it in video, and then we had to have a local policeman that could verify that the people who were there were actually the people that we claimed were there. So they had multiple layers of checking, and then we submitted all of that evidence, and then they finally said, yes, you set the record, and then they sent someone down, and the line that they end with after giving us all of the compliments is, congratulations, you are now officially awesome, which is just a fun line. We're all chuckling when we heard that.